What do the Dallas Cowboys need to do on Sunday to upset the 49ers? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. I am Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. He is Landon McCool. Check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, divisional round of the playoffs. We've made it. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm excited. You know, obviously we've got about 48 hours for a little over 48 hours for game time, and pressure and emotions are building. The monumentous feeling of the moment is really building. You know, all the history. People start playing all these old Cowboys Niner clips. It's really starting to mount, and I'm actually ready for this game to start now at this point.
I watched like the extended cut of the Cowboy 49er game from last year. Just got me fired up. Dallas played so poorly last year, and they still had a chance to win that game late. I'm ready. Let's talk about this matchup, Lane. Let's start with the 49ers offense against the Cowboys defense, because Brock Purdy has been the big story. How do you slow down Joe Montana 2.0?
Man, I saw the crossover and some of the names that they've been throwing out for.
I mean, the thing is, it's kind of not crazy when you look at the numbers that he's putting up and what this offense is doing, like comparing him to Kurt Warner and some of these.
Joe Montana was the name that I heard them.
Well,
mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
we're
getting a little out of control.
We get a little bit out of control.
How does Dallas realistically slow down Purdy?
You know, the same way that they've attacked a lot of these other quarterbacks. You know, I think he's a little bit more. He's still a rookie quarterback. You know, he's still an NFL quarterback. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not. You know, I did see a very funny meme that San Francisco Reddit folks had made where they had, you know, that meme where they have the picture of the quarterback and they're like Lamar Jackson's legs. And
I did see this. Yes.
And it just said Brock Purdy's mind, Brock Purdy's arm, Brock Purdy's legs, Brock Purdy's. Yes. Yeah. You know, look, I think you hit him, you confuse him with the looks. You can't give him a bunch of time in the pocket, which is going to be a problem because they have a very good offensive line. I think that's really been the key with him mostly, right? Is that he plays behind a very good offensive line, and he's had lots of time to throw the ball. He isn't put into a situation where he's forced to kind of, make a lot of third and longs. He's always got an offense that manages to stay in front of the sticks a lot. So it's just like a lot of these other, sort of 10,000-foot defensive game plans, right? You got to win on first and second down. That's line one, I think, with the San Francisco offense. Find a way to not take huge. Well, I was gonna say huge losses, but that's confusing. Not to take huge chunks. Let them take huge chunks on first and second down.
Yep.
Force them into third and long situations. Purdy just hasn't been put into a ton of those situations. So, and I think that's obviously gets you in a situation where the Cowboys are able to do what they do best, which is attack the quarterback.
I mean, that's obviously the key, right? If the Cowboys can slow down the first down runs and not give up huge completions on first and second down, they'll have a chance. I also think the longer a play goes on, the more it benefits Dallas. Because if they're playing in rhythm and he's making quick throws and guys are getting open, they're going to be hard to stop. But what we saw a little bit last week against Seattle is when Purdy was forced to hold onto the ball and start improvising, that's when things went awry a little bit. So if the Cowboys can just cover that for the initial 2.5 seconds, make Purdy bail out of some pockets, he's athletic, but he's not really a runner, and he's not really one of these guys that's going to run away from your pass rushers. I think the Cowboys could have success there, and I think they could force him to throw the ball off his back heel and into double coverage, and that's how they're going to have to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think considering he's a rookie quarterback, he's better than definitely the average rookie quarterback that I've seen playing off script, but he's still not, going to win the game by himself in that manner. And I do think that against the Cowboys, where they have a lot more speed at the pass rusher position than probably anyone he's faced so far this year, I think that the opportunity to kind of break the pocket and kind of hang around until something comes open is definitely going to be a lot more dangerous against this Dallas defense.
Another question for you is the Cowboys struggled so much stopping the 49ers run game last year. Do you think they're in a better position this year to contain this rushing game, even though now the 49ers have Christian McCaffrey compared to just Eli Mitchell, who they had last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting thing, right? Is that it feels like both teams have made improvements there. Obviously, McCaffrey has been a big addition to them.
Yeah.
But I think the issue, last year was getting off blocks and just there was a lot of yards that were allowed before contact with some of the run game stuff. I think that the Cowboys have a much better matchup here, simply because they've got much better defensive tackles than they had last year.
Specifically, a year older, right?
Yeah, and then Hankins and just having those guys in the middle just kind of helps with what is not a fantastic interior offensive line for the 49ers. So I am hopeful that you're going to get a lot better performance in the run game, especially, like I said, in those early first and second downs where it's really, really crucial to kind of keep them to limited gains in order to force them into the long third downs.
I also feel like Dallas just has more options, right? If something's not working, they can go to a big nickel look and have three safeties on the field. Or, last year it was Leighton Vander Esch, and that was really the only linebacker. Anthony Barr's is seeing this offensive line. He has his flaws or whatever, but you can keep him on the field and he can help the run game. You also have, if you want more of an athletic linebacker, you could play more Damone Clark. We should also mention last year, we love Randy Gregory. We both have been big fans of Randy Gregory. He did not play well in this game. Not only did he struggle to stop the run, he had 3 pretty big penalties. So maybe playing somebody more like Dorrance Armstrong or even Sam Williams, who gives you a little bit more power and athleticism, just makes a little bit of a difference to help you in the run game.
The defensive line across the board is just deeper and more talented than it was last year. I mean, I think you had some. I mean, that may sound like blasphemy for Randy Gregory fans, but you have to understand, like, Dorrance Armstrong is a much better player than he was last year. You've got Fowler, you've got Williams. You just have more bodies.
Golston's playing much better.
Yeah, Golston. And then I was just gonna say, inside you got Golston playing much better. You got Odigizua playing on a completely different level than he was playing last year. So I just think that there's more guys, and not only more guys to rotate in, but more guys to give you opportunity to give them different looks up front. It doesn't have to be a 4-man front all the time, or with a 3 technique, a 1 technique, and a 7 and a 9. It could be a bear look early. It could be a 3 down lineman with standing linebackers at certain points. So I think they're going to be able to offer more fronts to kind of counteract what San Francisco's doing much better than they were able to last year.
But let's be clear, the 49ers offense is still really good, and they're going to hit big plays. They're going to score. They'll probably have a couple, sequences in this game where they score touchdowns on back-to-back drives. Like, it's all just about getting enough stops to give your offense a chance, because I do think the defense can do that. I won't be surprised at all if the Cowboys go like 4 or 5 straight drives without allowing points. But I also won't be surprised if the 49ers score on 3 straight drives. So it's just going to be one of those things. Can you get enough stops to win? We shall see.
Tackle.
That's the most important
Tackle.
Debo and Ayuk and Kittle are going to get open, and they're going to catch passes. It's just make it a 15-yard gain rather than a 45-yard game. And that's what Seattle couldn't do last week. Debo
Samuel's his average depth of target, I looked it up last night, is 4.5 yards. And this is a guy who is considered one of the best wide receivers in football, and that's because he takes that ball just under 5 yards away from the line of scrimmage and then goes another 20 yards. So you have to find a way to bring these guys to the ground. And if you do, you're going to have good opportunities. Yeah, rally to the football.
Let's talk about the Cowboys offense and why they might be a better matchup against this 49ers defense than you think. But before we do that, we want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experience to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job posts, your company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. You can identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications all on one platform. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Landon, let's talk about the Cowboys offense, specifically Dak Prescott against this defense, because across the board, this is the best defense in the league. #1 against the run, #1 against the pass. They've got an unbelievable pass rush. I looked at the numbers yesterday. The 49ers had 31 pressures against the Cowboys last year, and Nick Bosa left in the second quarter with a concussion. 31 pressures. How do the Cowboys score points in this game?
I think they got to throw the football. I mean, despite what you just told me, despite what what we've heard, despite the fact that these numbers are outrageous, you go back and watch the 49ers last 2 or 3, 4 weeks. They've allowed people to throw the football on them, especially the teams that have the capabilities to do it. I mean, I think if you look at their schedule, the last team that really had the kind of offensive weaponry that the Cowboys have was the Las Vegas Raiders, right? And as well as what'd you say? You know,
a little bit about them. Yes.
Yeah. And honestly, based on your recommendation, I went back and watched that Vegas 49ers game, and boy, howdy, does a lot of that look like what the Cowboys run. It was a lot of play action bootleg to Waller. It was a lot of draws up the middle when they out of shotgun because they've thrown the ball so well. It was a lot of opportunities for receivers in the slot to get open. And
by the way, this was Jared Stidham, not Derek Carr.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the other thing I was going to point out is that it didn't require an elite quarterback. As an Auburn fan, I'll tell you that Jared Stidham is not that. But I can tell you that the Cowboys could easily replicate that game plan that the Raiders did, and I think that they can have success. I think where teams have had problems is running the football. I mean, they are absolutely almost historically good against the run. And that doesn't mean that I don't think the Cowboys should run the football. I just think that it's going to be one of those games where let's rerun what we did against Tampa last week, right? Let's come out here throwing the football. It doesn't matter if you go 3 and out early. Obviously, that didn't matter against Tampa either. Let's go out there and find the punching Susan who's in the secondary. Let's go out and find the rabbit. Like, who are we chasing, right? And let's make them force themselves into some other left-handed version of their defense while they try to figure out how to stop the bleeding while we're throwing it to CeeDee Lamb. And then I also think that, like I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of hay to be made with Dalton Schultz. I think if they can find ways to get the play action bootleg working and safely protect Dak from getting absolutely murdered by Nick Bosa when he comes back around on the bootleg, there's going to be opportunities for the tight ends in this game as well. The Cowboys, the commitment, and this is on both sides of the ball. I think the Cowboys' commitment this season to becoming a much more multiple offense and much more multiple defense, I think is going to be the saving grace for the Cowboys in this game, because it's going to give them more opportunities to attack both the San Francisco offense and defense in a multitude of ways and find something that works for them.
Just to use like a historical comp for this game, I can remember like in the mid 2000s when the Patriots and Steelers would play each other, and the Steelers would have the #1 ranked defense in the league and the #1 rushing defense in the league. And they would have these games where they would allow opponents only to average like 2 yards a carry. they dared teams to be physical against them and basically turn it into like a boxing fight, right? Like we want to play that style of football instead of trying to get sucked into that game plan. You would see New England base offense on the field, spread everybody out. Tony, they would have at the time, Kevin Falk would come out and play in the slot, and they would just throw and wear down your pass rush. That's the way to beat this 49ers team. The secondary is not great. I mean, it's good. It's not great. I think you could throw in these guys, and we saw Stidham light them up. We saw Geno in the first half with the Seahawks kind of light them up, throw to get a lead, and then run the ball once the pass rush is gassed. I think that's the way you beat this 49ers team.
Yeah, the Cowboys offense, when they can get into a rhythm, is one of the best short and intermediate passing teams in football, as far as I'm concerned, when they're in rhythm. And I think that's where they can win early, right? Is if they can, especially now that, like I said, and this is why I pointed this out last week or earlier this week. It's all blending together now. When we talked about the Tampa game, right? Michael Gallup winning on a slant. Getting T.Y. Hilton on a crosser that sits down in zone in the middle of the field.
Yes. Yep.
You gotta use all parts of the Buffalo to win this game, right? It's not gonna be just a CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz game. They're gonna have plans for that, but you've got counters now. That's something that you didn't necessarily have earlier in the season. Now you've got counters that are gonna work for you. They also did not see as much of a load as Tony Pollard as they're going to see in this game. And frankly, just using Tony Pollard as an outlet back, that'll help in just 3 or 4 yards on second down when you're throwing the football instead of throwing it away, and stuff like that. I think every little bit's going to count. And I think that's where Dak was really efficient, right? They were converting first downs all sorts of different ways, whether it was with Dak using his legs because there's nothing open.
Have to use his legs a lot in this game.
Absolutely. That's going to be key, because what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be plays where they cover it up perfectly and the pass rush is coming, and Dak can't just YOLO a ball down the field into double coverage or
hurdle,
take a sack.
Yeah.
Run up to the front of the pocket, get 4 yards. Who cares? Slide, run some more of the play action naked bootleg stuff with Dak and let him just get simple yardage. I loved the simple additions they've added to this offense, like the RPO that they ran with Dalton Schultz on that third down play, where it was simply, okay, the defensive end's coming down, and now I'm going to throw the ball out to Dalton Schultz, who's just releasing by himself wide open. More of that, where you are making simple plays where you are going to make the defense wrong no matter what. And even if it's only picking up chunks of like 3 and 4 yards early, setting yourself up to win on second and third down is going to be really important for this offense.
I'll also say one thing really quickly. Tony Pollard, we expect him to have a lot of touches in this game, but where his value is really going to be at, because I think he's going to be on the field on a lot of passing downs, is as a pass blocker, right? Like if they're blitzing Hufanga or Fred Warner or Greenlaw, can he stick in there and pick up a block that gives Dak a little bit longer to find Michael Gallup on an over route? We saw it last week, right? He had an awesome pass pickup against Levante David that allowed Dak to hit CeeDee Lamb on that exact same play that I'm talking about. The 49ers are going to be aggressive. They're going to blitz. It's up to Pollard. Pollard's made a lot of strides as a pass blocker this year. This is the game where they really need him to be rock solid in that area.
Despite all the blitzing that we talked about, this is not going to be a situation like last week with Bowles, right? With Todd Bowles, where it's going to be a lot of exotic stuff or any of that. Yeah. Like the 49ers play pretty straight up, and so the Dak's not necessarily going to be confused by what he sees. It's just going to be about. Yep, exactly. Can they actually perform? Yeah. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to.
All right, let's make our game predictions. But today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all of the fat and calories, then you've got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know everybody's goal is to eat a little bit healthier this year. And if you want to eat healthier, but you don't want to compromise taste, then Built Bar is absolutely for you. You've got to try it right now. What makes it so good? Covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, 100% real chocolate. They've got so many fantastic flavors like peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. Best part, only 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, but a whopping 17 grams of protein. I actually just ordered actually 2 boxes of the cookie dough last night at built.com, which of course you can still do. But what's better now is you can go to your local Walmart or your Sam's Club to pick up Built Bars. If you've got a little craving for one right now, go to the pharmacy at your Walmart. You can pick up a 4-bar box of the cookies and cream. I think they have the double chocolate, the coconut puffs, or you can go to Sam's Club and pick up a 13-bar box with brownie batter or churro. You can thank us later. Again, built.com for the absolute best tasting protein bar on the market. Also want to let you know that this show is, of course, your first listen every day. But we also want you guys to go check out the Locked On NFL podcast to get daily conversations on the biggest NFL stories. Plus, they have in-depth analysis on the biggest games of the weekend and key NFL predictions every Friday. Of course, I think they're going to be talking a little bit about this Cowboys 49ers game this week. It's only the biggest game of the week. Locked On NFL, available on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Landon, let's make our predictions for the divisional round of the playoffs. Who do you got?
I'm picking the Cowboys. I mean, this is definitely going to be the toughest game they play all season. The 49ers have won 11 straight. It just feels like there's a lot of history here. I don't know. I mean, it's funny how the confidence meter tumbles over with the win in the playoffs, right? I just think this is a different team than it was last year, and I think that in some ways they're a deeper team. They're maybe not as top heavy talented, but I think that they have a lot of depth across the board. And I think that shows itself out in these end of these games. They just seem to outlast folks. I think if the Cowboys can come out early and survive the early part of the game, they have a very, very good chance to win this game.
The longer they keep this game close, the more confidence that they're going to have that they can win. I will promise you one thing. They might lose this game. They might not look good. They might not be sloppy. They might be sloppy. There is no way they are coming out flat like they did last year.
No, I don't think so. There's
just no way. And you could even hear it in the voices of the players and the coaches this week. I heard Mike McCarthy talking on 105.3 The Fan today about being an underdog. And he was like blown away. And Michael Parsons talking about how he's wanted this matchup all year. And Dak wanted this matchup all year. They're going to be ready.
I don't buy into that stuff a ton, but man, I do listen to all the interviews because, you never know what you're going to get, kind of nuggets you'll get from them. I got to say, they really do seem locked in a way that they hadn't previously. I mean, it's just the mentality is where it needs to be. So again,
they want they're
I think San Francisco is underrating how much Dallas wants this game. And I think that's the thing is that even like the fandom and stuff, like the Cowboys really are the underdogs. And I do honestly believe that is shocking to them. So I think that they are happy to play that role. And I think that no one really wants to come out and give bulletin board material, but I think that they're pissed about the way things went down last year. They blame the 49ers and they're in the sights. Now, the 49ers are a very physical team.
They're a better team than they were last year.
Yeah. And I think that they are ready to come out and play that brand of physical football. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys came out and maybe not matched it in this terms of, let's get into a physical, run between the tackles kind of game.
I think, I wouldn't, right?
Yeah, but I think as far as effort, as far as physicality, especially tackling and that sort of thing, I look for the Cowboys to come out and play good football. So I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. The number I've been throwing around is 31-28, and that means the Cowboys score 4 touchdowns and get all extra points and a field goal from Brett Maher, just in case anybody wanted to talk about the kicker real quick. I just think that it's 30 years since 1992 to the date. There's things that I don't believe in numerology and all that stuff, but there are just signs in the universe that seem to be pushing towards a Cowboys victory. So I'm gonna roll with it and pick them.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar game to what we saw last year, where the 49ers jump out to a 13-0 lead and the Cowboys are kind of battling back the whole time, and they maybe are never able to quite get that lead. I'm going to pick the 49ers in a really close game. I'm going to say 49ers 27-24, and they kick the game-winning field goal at the end. They are at home. They have had the extra days of rest. They're really good on special teams. Robbie Gould, one of the best kickers in the league, one of the best playoff kickers in the NFL. But this is going to be a close game, at least in my opinion. I see this being really a coin flip game. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I mean, honestly, that's what everybody's predicting, right? Like, I think all of us would believe this is going to be a very close game, simply because these are two very good teams with everything on the line,
with great rosters, right? There's just talent galore on both sides of the ball,
and they're both playing good football right now. It's it's not like I honestly think that we talked about it, and I don't think it's technically fair to necessarily have a team play on a Monday and then play on a Sunday for a playoff game, but I honestly don't think it's going to have any effect on the Cowboys because of all the 6-day schedules they've already had to deal with, and honestly, it may even help them to still be in a kind of physical mindset sooner. Like San Francisco's had a little time off, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how it plays out. But either way, I definitely expect a very, very fun and exciting game on Sunday.
All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you the local insights you love to the national spotlight with daily conversations on the biggest NFL stories. Locked On NFL, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All the same places that you would download the Locked On Cowboys podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Go follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy the divisional round games. You only get so many fun playoff games in your lifetime. I said this last week. Enjoy it. We'll see you guys right back here on Sunday night to break it all down.